Welcome back for a special edition of Cool Tools. We usually do a Cool Tools episode about every other month, like 6 or 7 a year. But as winter begins and folks start setting aside their outdoor activities and getting into their shops more, we enter what a lot of people, especially in industry, call woodworking season. Yes, that's the thing, even in cold climates. And to kick that off, I always like to make a special November and a December Cool Tools video. I know a lot of you look forward to these because I save some of the most interesting tools for these episodes. And I'm sometimes able to negotiate a few special prices for you, especially this time of year. So be sure to use the links below, either by expanding the video description, you usually got to click on something for that, or you can find them pinned to the top of the comment section. And as always, any sponsor involvement is disclosed down there and on the screen at the beginning of the video. This is going to be a really good one. We have 8 really cool tools, so let's get started. I've had several Milescraft tools on this series in the past because they're actually of really good quality for the price. And the GrabberPRO is a perfect example. Now just looking at it, you can see that this is obviously not something that they invented, but they made it more affordable, significantly so. And that's a good thing because this will make your table saw safer to use. On the bottom are grippy pads to control both halves of a workpiece throughout the cutting process, while the angled handle on top encourages pressure against the fence and down on the table at the same time. Now this greatly reduces the chance that an offcut will turn and bind between the blade and the fence, which is a major cause of kickback and amputations. The body of the jig also bridges over the top of the saw blade, protecting your hand should something go wrong if you don't have a blade guard installed. You can even use 2 of them together to walk longer rips through the blade for a more fluid, smoother feed with maximum control and protection. Because every situation is different, the GrabberPRO is adjustable. You can change the configuration of the soles to cut strips as narrow as 1/8 of an inch without cutting into the block. If you want extra stability for narrow workpieces, you can lower the support foot on the side. And there's a removable, replaceable sacrificial heel catch on the back for even more pushing power. I make as many cuts as possible with my table saw's blade guard in place. But when you do have to remove the guard, or if your saw doesn't have a guard, this is a significant safety upgrade in my opinion. And it can be used on the router table, on the jointer, even on the bandsaw. So you're going to get a lot of use from your investment. As I said, it's significantly less expensive than the other version on the market, yet the build quality is excellent. And the GrabberPRO comes with both 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch thin strip attachments right out of the box. And when you consider that, I think it comes in at almost half the price. So do yourself a favor and use the link below this video to check it out for yourself. If you use a shop vac to collect dust from small power tools like sanders and routers, you know what a pain it is that everyone seems to have a different size port. I solved this problem years ago when I got the DustRight FlexiPort hose kit. It comes with a small and a medium adapter, and there are a couple more sizes available, I believe, but you don't have to have an exact size because they're made from a durable rubber that stretches over many different port sizes. The adapters easily screw onto the hose, which is included, and it extends up to 12 feet. It also fits in a standard 2 1/4 inch vacuum port. I really consider this kit to be essential in any workshop. It's going to save you a lot of frustration when you use a shop vacuum for sanders or routers, really all sorts of tools. I've had mine for, I believe, 6 or 7 years, and it's still in great shape, and it's something I reach for still on a regular basis. Check it out at the link below the video. Everyone who watches this channel knows that I've used ISOtunes Bluetooth hearing protection for many years, ever since I found the company when they were just a startup in a tiny woodworking show booth, I think in Atlanta. I immediately knew that that is something that I'm going to use in the shop every day, and I've never looked back. Well, in the years since, I've been able to develop a relationship with the family that makes these. And I'm able to sometimes get special deals for my audience on various models. This, I think, has got to be one of the best deals I've ever negotiated. Their light model, which is a great set of Bluetooth earbuds with a 10-hour battery life, 26 decibels of noise reduction to protect your ears, and special fins for a more comfortable fit, are on sale right now for 30% off. Plus, I got them to offer another 15% off for my viewers. Now the best part is that 15% comes after the 30% discount is applied, so they end up compounding to nearly $30 off. You'll have to use my link below to get that deal, and it's only until the 30th of this month. After that, you can use the other link that I'm going to leave below to get a 10% discount. That's nice, but it's not close to 30 bucks. So watch the rest of this video, then click the link and head over there. 2 years ago, I told you about Narex Richter chisels, which I still believe are among the best I have ever used, especially for the price. And this is another cool tool that has a special discount that I thought I would tell you about right now. It's 15% off if you use the link below. Now, if you want to know why I love these so much, here's some highlights from that original review segment. These here are different. These chisels are a special edition named after Václav Richter, who was a village blacksmith in the Czech Republic who started making and selling chisels and gimlets in 1919. It was his shop that grew into the Narex factory, where they still make chisels using old world drop forging techniques. So 100 years after Mr. Richter made his first chisel, Narex decided to honor him by producing a set of ultra premium chisels that rival anything that there is on the market. First of all, they are stunning to look at. They put a great deal of effort into the fit and finish. All the steel surfaces are polished to a mirror finish. The handles are made from domestically harvested European ash with stainless steel ferrules and leather washers. They're comfortable to hold and grip. This is not your typical chisel steel. It's a high-tech alloy with chromium for enhanced hardenability and vanadium for grain reduction and greater toughness. But after drop forging and initial hardening, they cryogenically freeze the steel in liquid nitrogen to minus 190 degrees Fahrenheit. This alters the steel on the molecular level, greatly increasing its strength and wear resistance. They're rated for hardness at Rockwell 62. All this means that they will take a very, very fine edge, and their edge retention is as good as any premium tool on the market. Another thing worth pointing out is the very finely beveled edges on the sides. Compare that to how there are facets on the edges of these other high-quality chisels. These fine bevels allow the tool to get into tight places, such as between dovetails. But it is very difficult to manufacture chisels with fine edges like this because the machine cannot grip the chisel during the grinding process. It's not something the average user may notice unless he cuts dovetails, but it's a sign of a very well-made tool. As I said, I have long recommended Narex chisels for their value. They're always a good balance between quality and price, but their Richter line is different. They didn't try to balance anything here. They threw all the weight to the quality side. These are lifetime tools, the good set that you keep in a box and you take out for each project, but then you hide them so nobody else can touch them. They're a little more expensive than other Narex products, but they're still less than comparable chisels from Lie-Nielsen or Veritas. If you're thinking of a premium chisel set, Narex Richter chisels are absolutely worth checking out. I'll link to them below this video. In a recent sanding tutorial, I mentioned that I've been using these anti-vibration gloves sometimes when I'm doing a lot of sanding or working with other vibrating tools. And I've heard from several viewers since then how much they appreciated that recommendation because tool vibrations make their hands numb, and some have even had permanent nerve damage that they attribute to vibrations. So they wanted me to emphasize how much they wish they had found these gloves years ago. They are really comfortable. They have a soft goatskin palm and short fingers for free movement, but the key is the gel pad inside the palm, which absorbs vibration. Not all of it, but enough to help avoid numbness in your hands from any type of vibrating tool. Now my 3M and Mirka sanders don't vibrate much, but if I'm doing a lot of sanding, or if I'm using another vibrating tool for a long period of time, I really appreciate these gloves. I'm not a doctor, I can't confirm any long-term medical benefits, but I do know that they keep me comfortable. So check them out at the link below the video. Honestly, I was surprised to see SawStop released a new compact table saw this year because they already offer a portable job site saw. But with an overall footprint of just 23 by 27 inches and a weight of just 68 pounds, the new CTS lives up to its name. It is definitely a compact table saw. And this kind of portability actually comes with surprisingly few compromises. So let me just give you a closer look. The first thing I noticed is it's very well built compared to many other benchtop saws. Yes, there is some reinforced plastic and some cranks and knobs, but the frame is heavy-duty steel. In fact, I think they could have made it even lighter if they had compromised a bit more on that build, but that's a trade-off I'm willing to accept. The table is aluminum, which rules out magnetic jigs, but the miter slots are standard 3/4 inch, so featherboards and sleds and aftermarket miter gauges will work fine. I love how they found ways to keep all the accessories attached to the saw so they travel together. It's got a nice handle. You can put it in the back of a vehicle and things aren't going to get broken or knocked off. The back compartment holds the blade guard, the miter gauge, a riving knife, and other safety accessories. And the rip fence locks beneath the table out of the way for travel. The fence auto-aligns when you attach it to the top of the saw, and it works on a rack and pinion system. A lot of people really like systems like this. It does have its pros and cons. It has to be adjusted with a knob, and that's a bit slow if you have to make large or frequent adjustments. But it does keep the fence aligned to the blade during movement, and it locks it down securely on both ends by merely pushing on the knob. Another nice feature is the flip-down fence. It serves two purposes. At one height, it provides a low fence for making very narrow rips without having to remove the blade guard. And then it has a lower setting so that it's flush with the top of the saw table to support panels for making wider cuts. You can rip up to 24 inches at full extension, not a huge amount if you plan to work with a lot of sheet goods, but it'll handle half a sheet with no problem. The bevel adjustment is really clever. When you squeeze the crank, it moves freely and quickly to tilt the blade, but there's also a micro-adjust dial to fine-tune your angle. Interestingly, you can tilt the blade past 45 degrees, I think to about 47, and then back further than 90. This is a nice feature for back beveling during cabinet or trim installation. It's also interesting that the trunnion's pivot point does not require a wide gap in the throat insert like most other saws, so you have zero clearance around the blade at all times for safety and a cleaner cut. The dust collection is typical of these compact saws. There's a shroud that encloses the blade beneath the saw, so that's better than most, but there's only so much you can do with a shop vac port. So while it'll keep the dust from piling up on the ground, it's not going to collect what flies off the top of the blade, and that can add up. The stand is sold separately, but it's a nice accessory to have. I love how the saw just sits on top and then quickly locks on. But what struck me was how well the rubber feet on the bottom of the saw itself gripped a flat surface. I'm comfortable making cuts on a sturdy table or bench without clamping it down. SawStop is of course famous for their safety, and this saw is full of safety features, but it also seems to be engineered by someone who understands how the real world works. So they make it easy to make most cuts with all the safety gear on, but they also make it possible to quickly and easily remove something that may be in the way for a particular cut and then replace it later without needing any special tools. Like all SawStop saws, it includes their braking system so it will not cut your flesh. There's also a bypass switch for materials that might trigger the system, such as really damp lumber or foiled cover sheets. The braking system will then automatically turn back on when you restart the saw for your next cut, so you're not going to forget it. It has plenty of power for construction lumber, and it'll even get through this thick white oak. But I'd recommend, I think, a thin kerf blade to reduce the strain on the motor. Also, keep in mind that this saw is not going to accept a dado set. And those are the biggest compromises that I see. That and the little plastic miter gauge is disappointing. But the portability of this saw and the power for its size just can't be beat. Whether you need something to take to a job site, or if you have a really small workspace and you need something you can easily stow away and pull out just when you need it, it is definitely something worth looking into. I'll put a link below this video. Portable power banks seem to be all the rage these days because they provide quiet, reliable power without the noise, the fuel, and the maintenance of a generator. You simply plug them in to charge them at home, then you take your power with you wherever you need to go. So this summer, I got one from a company called Coofly to take on a rustic camping trip that I had planned. We do this every year, and I was excited about it because I like to do a little wood carving around the fire, and that normally means taking all of my gouges and sharpening gear. So this time, I got this so I could take a power rotary tool and a few bits, and I'll do some power carving. Well, long story short, something came up and I didn't get to go on the trip. But Mustache Mike did, and I sent the Coofly with him, and he loved it. He charged his electronic devices off it all week. He even ran a CPAP machine all night, every night, for several nights in a row. And he wasn't even close, he said, to exhausting the charge. This particular model is the S1000, and it holds 1,021 watt-hours. Now, how much power is that? Well, it depends on the voltage you're using, I believe, since this puts out different voltage depending on the outlets. But there's a chart in the manual that gives some examples, such as powering a television for 19 hours or a portable refrigerator for 13 hours. There's also a formula to do your own calculations. So I can run my rotary tool to do my carving for 2 or 3 hours a day all weekend long, and I'll still have power to keep everybody's cell phone charged. I can do multiple things at a time, but there are some limits. For example, the AC outlets max out at 1,000 watts, so I'm not going to be running the table saw because I think that's 1,800 watts. The USB has an 18 watt max, and the USB-C can put out a maximum of 100 watts at a time. Now, if you're running low on juice, you can plug a solar panel in and recharge the unit for a few hours a day to extend your supply. I admit these things are not even close to cheap. They run about the same price as a mid-range 1,000 watt generator like a Ryobi. That seems to be about right because they put out the same power. I know this doesn't generate that power, but it also doesn't burn gasoline, it doesn't make noise, and it doesn't require maintenance. So there's the trade-off. I'll link to the Coofly store below if you want to check out their selection. I always like to conclude an episode of Cool Tools with an inexpensive tool that I think is worth its weight in gold. And today, I want to tell you about my coffee cup. Not this one. I keep this on my bench for a different purpose. I don't drink out of it. I drink out of the one that is hiding behind it. This is my 10-ounce Yeti tumbler, and I love it. It is the perfect size for a cup of coffee. I usually put 8 ounces in it, which I drink black most of the time, but then if I want to have a little cream once in a while, there's room for that too. If I'm traveling, sure, I like a bigger mug with a larger supply. But in the shop, at my desk in the office, or at home, this is just right. It's not bulky, it fits my hand comfortably, and even if I get busy, as I often do, and forget about it for an hour, I'm going to go back to it, it's still going to be hot. You may think, oh, that's small. You may think you need a handle, even though those don't fit in a lot of cup holders. But I'm telling you, if you try it, you're going to see why this size and shape is my favorite. And for a Yeti, it's surprisingly affordable. I have one in the shop and one at home, and it's all I drink coffee out of. I don't use regular mugs anymore because they cool off too quickly. Of course, having my coffee cup on the bench while I'm filming would look funny on camera. So that's why I hide it behind this. Use the links below this video, and I'll see you in about 3 weeks to wrap up the year with our special December Cool Tools episode. BitsBits.com is a small company that takes top quality white side router bits and adds their high-tech Astra coating to reduce friction, heat, and wear, perhaps doubling the life of the bit. They have a growing selection of bits for all woodworking applications, and they are the place for CNC router bits. They are really worth checking out, so give them a look at the link below this video.